Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles. I've been staring at my phone so long the screen's gone dim twice without me noticing. 84 messages from Gianna in 3 days. Texts, voicemails, even a couple emails. Awesome version of Please Dawson. Please drop the charges. I made a mistake. We can fix this. Fix this. Like this was a leaky faucet or a blown fuse. Like I didn't walk in on her screwing some guy in her bed. Sorry if I'm rambling. I still can't believe this is real. 3 weeks ago, I was just a regular 43-year-old guy. A guy who paid his taxes on time, who brought his wife coffee on Saturday mornings, who honestly thought, maybe naively, that his life was okay. Not perfect, but solid. Now, I'm living in a holiday, and off I-95 with a suitcase of clothes and a bottle of Jack Daniels. I haven't had the nerve to crack open yet. I've spoken to 3 different divorce attorneys. 2 of them didn't even blink when I said the word restraining order. I guess stories like mine aren't as rare as you want to think they are. I work commercial HVAC. Not flashy, but it's steady, pays well enough. I've been with the same company 15 years. Started out doing installs. Now I manage projects, big ones, hospitals, office parks, shopping centers across the Southeast. So yeah, I travel a couple times a month. Usually just 2 or 3 days. Gianna always said she didn't mind, said she liked the quiet. Gianna, my wife. Well, my wife for now is 41, elementary school teacher, 4th grade. Been married 12 years, no kids. Couldn't have them. We found out early after the 2nd round of tests. She cried and I held her and I said we'd be okay. Last month I had a 3-day job in Memphis. Nothing unusual. Left Monday morning, supposed to be back Thursday night, but the crew was good, and the install went smooth, so I bumped my flight up and came home a day early. Thought I'd surprise her. Maybe take her out to that place on Main she likes. And the one with the candles on the tables and the overpriced pasta. Stupid, right? I didn't even tell her I was coming. Just grabbed an Uber from the airport and headed straight home. Got in around 3:30 p.m. The second I opened the front door, I heard it. No mistaking the kind of noise I was hearing, moaning, rhythmic, upstairs. I think something in me just switched off. I didn't stop to think. I didn't call out. I just took the stairs 2 at a time. Opened the bedroom door without even pausing, and there they were, Gianna and some guy I'd never seen in my life. He was tall, mid-30s, maybe built like a personal trainer or one of those guys in protein shake commercials. Abs for days. Probably never ate bread in his damn life. He turned to look at me like I was the one in the wrong room, like I was interrupting something sacred. Meanwhile, I stood there feeling like the walking embodiment of middle age, a dad bod, and thinning hair. They both froze when I opened the door. For maybe half a second, everything was still, like one of those freeze frames in a movie. Then it all exploded. The guy scrambled for his clothes, grabbing his jeans off the floor and hopping on one leg as he tried to yank them up. "You said he was out of town," he muttered, not even looking at me, just glaring at Gianna like she was the problem here. Gianna yanked the sheet up around her chest, face pale, eyes darting between us like she was watching a tennis match no one wanted tickets to. I just stood there, didn't yell, didn't throw a punch or anything. I was too stunned, too hollowed out. The guy brushed past me, muttering something under his breath. I didn't catch it and bolted down the stairs. A few seconds later, I heard the front door slam hard enough to rattle the picture frames in the hallway. I turned to Gianna. My voice came out flat, like someone else was using it. "Really? In our bed?" She didn't answer. Just reached for her phone on the nightstand with a shaky hand. I thought maybe she was calling him, or a friend, or anyone honestly who could tell her what to do next. I wasn't prepared for what actually happened. She held the phone to her ear and said, 911. "What's your emergency?" "Yes, my husband just came home. He's threatening me." I blinked. "What?" She glanced at me, voice trembling as she said, "Please hurry. I'm afraid of what he might do." I felt like the floor tilted under me. "Are you serious?" I asked, stepping back. "Gianna, I haven't even moved from this spot. I didn't touch you." She didn't stop. He's yelling and he's got me cornered, she said into the phone, eyes wide and locked on me like she was putting on a performance for the Oscars. Please send someone fast. My hands went up automatically like, that would prove something. What are you doing? I asked. I haven't done anything, but she kept talking. So I walked away. What else could I do? I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to run either. I knew how that would look. So I went downstairs, sat on the edge of the couch and stared at the wall like I could somehow see through it, and back to the version of my life that had existed just yesterday. The cops showed up 10 minutes later. 2 officers, 1 male, 1 female. They separated us immediately. The male officer guided me into the kitchen. Let's talk over here. I nodded, still kind of in a daze. Mind telling me what happened today? He asked, notebook in hand. Yeah, I said. I came home early from a work trip. Wasn't supposed to be back until tomorrow. Walked in the house and heard stuff. Went upstairs and found my wife in bed with another guy. Guy took off. I asked her if she really did this in our bed. That's it. I never touched her. I didn't even move toward her. She picked up the phone and told 911 I was threatening her. The officer raised an eyebrow but kept his voice neutral. You said you just got back from a flight. Have you had anything to drink? No, nothing, just water on the plane. I drove straight home from the airport. He jotted something down. Any history of domestic issues between you and your wife? No. He paused. Have you ever put your hands on her in anger before? I looked him in the eye and shook my head. No, never, because it was the truth. Meanwhile, upstairs, Gianna must have been telling a completely different story. Later, the female officer, Officer Kane, I think her name was, came down and spoke to me quietly in the foyer. Your wife saying you have a history of violence? She said, keeping her voice low, almost cautious. That you've been controlling, that you monitor her whereabouts, and that you've made threats in the past. I just blinked at her. What? She says she was afraid for her life when you caught her with the other man, that you have an explosive temper. I stared at the spot on the carpet where the guy's shoes had been when I walked in. Like, maybe I could scrub this whole moment out of existence by staring hard enough. All of that is a lie, I finally said. 12 years together, and we've never even had a shouting match. I don't drink. I don't raise my voice. I'm not that guy. Officer Kane didn't say much, just gave me a long look before nodding. I could see her trying to keep a neutral face, but her eyes were skeptical. They always are when it's just your word against theirs. The 2 officers stood in the hallway a few minutes later, whispering to each other like 2 kids trying to decide which parent to believe during a messy divorce. And that's when it hit me. The cameras. We have security footage, I said suddenly, from the hallway upstairs in the living room. We installed them after a break-in a couple years back. They should show everything. Me walking in, him leaving, me sitting on the couch and her coming down afterward. That got their attention. Where's the footage stored? The male officer, Officer Reynolds, asked. It backs up to the cloud. I can log in right now. He pulled out his phone. Show me. I logged into the app, hands shaking a little from the adrenaline. It took a minute to load. Longest damn minute of my life. But there it was, the hallway view. We watched together, me entering the front door, heading up the stairs. A few seconds later, the tall guy came rushing down shirtless, fumbling with his shoes. Then me again, walking calmly down the stairs. I sat on the couch still as a statue. No yelling, no running, no threats, no violence. Then came the most telling part, Gianna following me down a minute or so later. She looked fine, physically unharmed, not even flinching. She glanced out the front window, probably checking if Romeo had made his getaway. Then she saw me sitting there quietly. That's when she started acting frantic, waving her arms, grabbing, her phone again, pacing in circles. Play that back, Officer Reynolds said. I did. They watched it twice. Then, without saying anything, they both headed back upstairs. I heard her voice through the ceiling. Not words, but the rising pitch. Defensive, frustrated, angry. Officer Kane's voice stayed level, but I could tell she was asking the hard questions now. Gianna kept insisting I'd threaten her before the recording started. A few minutes later, Officer Reynolds returned. He looked more tired than anything now. "We're going to need to review more footage," he said, specifically from earlier dates. "Your wife's claiming there's a pattern of threatening behavior. Check whatever you need," I said, stepping aside and handing over the tablet. "You're not going to find anything because it never happened." They spent about 20 minutes scrolling through random clips, different days, different times, me coming home from work, cooking dinner, sitting on the couch while Gianna scrolled on her phone. Occasionally, us chatting in the kitchen or watching TV together. Just a regular married couple. Or so I thought. It all looked normal, quiet, peaceful, like a snapshot of a life that felt until just hours ago like mine. An apparently functional marriage. When they came, back downstairs, Gianna was with them, fully dressed now. The panic drained from her face, replaced by something colder, controlled. No more trembling hands, no more breathless performance. Officer Kane looked like she wanted to spit nails. She crossed her arms and fixed Gianna with a stare sharp enough to cut glass. "Given the video evidence directly contradicts your initial statement," she said, her voice tight, "would you like to revise your account?" Gianna hesitated, her eyes darting toward me like I might jump in and save her. "I didn't." She let out this pathetic little sob and shook her head. I panicked. I wasn't thinking clearly. I didn't know what else to do. I just stood there, arms crossed, jaw tight, watching. Officer Reynolds stepped outside with Kane, probably to talk options. Gianna turned to me the second the door clicked shut. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I didn't answer. I didn't know what to do. She tried again. "I thought you were going to." "Going to what?" I cut her off, sharper than I intended. "Hit you?" Her face crumpled. I just panicked. "When have I ever given you the impression I would lay a hand on you?" I asked, voice low, steady. "Ever?" She opened. Her mouth then closed it. No answer. The officers came back in. Officer Kane didn't even try to mask her disgust. "Miss Ellis," she said formally, "you're being cited for misuse of emergency services and filing a false police report. These are misdemeanor charges under state law, but they're serious nonetheless." Gianna gasped. "Wait, what? I didn't." "You did?" Kane said bluntly. "And it's all on tape. They didn't cuff her, just issued a summons and warned her to appear in court." I nodded, thanked them quietly, and walked upstairs without a word. Packed a duffel bag, a few clothes, toiletries, my charger, left the wedding ring sitting on the dresser. She followed me as far as the hallway. "Where are you going?" "Anywhere that isn't here." "Dawson, please don't do this." I didn't reply. I checked into a hotel that night, sat on the stiff bed, lights off, just staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell 12 years could end like this. The call started before midnight. I didn't answer. The texts poured in the next day, some apologetic. "I was scared. I made a mistake. Some furious. This is vindictive. Dawson, you're trying to ruin my life." Some manipulative. "If you ever loved me, you'll tell them to drop the charges." I didn't answer a single one. My lawyer said not to. "Let me handle all communication," he told me. "She's trying to bait you into saying something she can use." So I let him handle it. He filed the divorce papers. I started apartment hunting. There was no salvaging the house. Every room held a memory that felt like it had turned to ash. It's been 3 weeks now. The texts still come. 84 of them last time I checked, though I stopped counting. Yesterday my attorney got a message from hers. They're asking if I'll make a statement to the prosecutor, something that might convince them to reduce the charges or drop them entirely. Apparently, a conviction could impact her teaching license. She's already on administrative leave, pinning the outcome. She deserves consequences for trying to weaponize the police against me. If our security system hadn't caught the truth, I could have been arrested on a domestic violence charge, even a false one, especially a false one. I could have lost my job, my reputation, everything. The hardest part in all this isn't even the affair. It isn't the way she let some guy screw her in our bed, or the fact that I walked in on them like a scene from some twisted movie. No. The hardest part is realizing that my wife of 12 years thought so little of me, knew me so poorly that she believed I might hurt her, or worse, that she knew I wouldn't, but was willing to lie about it anyway. Willing to call the police and tell them I was some kind of violent monster to protect herself from the consequences of getting caught. It's hard not to see that for what it is, a betrayal of who I thought she was. Our marriage was a fiction, a carefully constructed image, held together by lies and silence. She didn't just cheat on me. She destroyed the foundation of everything we built. You can't come back from something like this. The trust is gone, shattered beyond repair. I sat at the kitchen table yesterday staring at the message she sent me. I hadn't responded to anything in weeks, but she kept trying. The same words over and over, different variations of the same theme. Please, Dawson, I made one mistake. Don't throw away 12 years over one mistake. But it wasn't one mistake. It was an affair, then a false accusation, then multiple lies to the police. Each one a choice she made, knowing the potential consequences. She knew what she was doing. The longer I think about it, the harder it becomes to believe that I was ever the man she loved. Because if she truly loved me, how could she do something like that to me, to us? I haven't decided about the charges yet. My lawyer says it's entirely up to me whether I make a statement to the prosecutor, though ultimately it's their decision, whether to pursue the case. But I don't want revenge. I just want to get through this divorce and move on with my life. But every time my phone buzzes with another message from her, I remember sitting in my kitchen with that officer. The way he asked me, calm and measured, if I had ever put my hands on my wife in anger, I could feel my blood run cold in that moment. It was as if everything she had said upstairs was hitting me all at once. She was upstairs painting me as some kind of monster to save herself, to protect her from the consequences of her own choices. And now here I am, holding this phone in my hand, feeling my thumb hover over the screen, torn between answering, ignoring, or just throwing it against the wall. But no matter what I do, nothing will erase that moment. Some things you just can't forgive or forget. It has been a month now. I decided not to drop the charges. After talking it through with both my lawyer and a close friend who's a counselor, I realized that I wasn't obligated to shield Gianna from the consequences of her actions. What she did was her choice. And while I wasn't looking for revenge, I also wasn't about to let her lie about me and get away with it. The prosecutor offered her a plea deal, community service, and a fine instead of jail time. She accepted. I didn't feel relieved or vindicated. It was just the right thing. It felt like the kind of compromise she would have wanted from the start, but it was all too late. The school board held a hearing about her teaching position. I didn't attend. My lawyer kept me updated, and I found out that they placed her on probation for a year, but allowed her to continue teaching. Apparently, several parents and colleagues spoke on her behalf, but a lot of parents asked what values does a teacher brings when she is a cheater in her personal life. As for the divorce, it's proceeding about as smoothly as these things can. We're selling the house and splitting the proceeds. No arguments about property, no battles over who gets what. I think we both just want it over with. But then came the letter. It was a handwritten letter from the guy, the one who was with Gianna that day. I sat down on the couch when I opened it, the handwriting familiar and formal in a way that made my stomach twist. His name was Alex, and he apologized for his role in everything. I had no idea what to expect, but it felt weird, unsettling, almost reading words that seemed to humanize someone who had been nothing more than a faceless part of my nightmare. He went on to share something I hadn't known. Apparently, he and Gianna hadn't met randomly. He was the divorced and was a single father of one of her students from last year. They connected at a parent-teacher conference, started texting, and things progressed from there. But here's the kicker. He claimed Gianna had told him our marriage was already over, said we were separated, living together only until the divorce was finalized. He said he never would have gotten involved if he'd known the truth. I froze for a moment. I couldn't breathe. I had no idea how to react to that. My mind raced, flashing back to every single moment I had thought I knew Gianna, the life I thought we had built. She had painted a completely different picture for him, a version of reality that wasn't even close to the truth. That's when I realized how thoroughly she'd manipulated the entire situation. Not just me, but everyone around her. I'm not a vengeful person, but this was different. I realized I couldn't just let her walk away from this, pretending like she'd done nothing wrong. People like Gianna who deceive and manipulate, they deserve to be shamed. They need to be held accountable for their actions, especially when their lies affect others. I had to do something, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I took the letter to my lawyer. After reading through it, I knew it was important, more than just some random apology from a guy who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was a glimpse into the kind of person Gianna had become and how far she was willing to go to protect herself, even at the expense of everything and everyone around her. My lawyer agreed. He said it could be useful to officially present it, that it might be the final piece I needed to prove the extent of her deceit. That's when I made the decision. I shared the letter with the school board. The response was swift. I didn't expect it to be so quick. The board didn't waste any time. A few days later, I received the call that they had decided to fire Gianna and cancel her teaching license. I didn't feel satisfaction or joy. What I felt was an unsettling emptiness, like the last thread of my marriage had finally been severed. Gianna had woven herself into a position of trust in the community. And now, because of her actions, she was stripped of it. Her career, which she valued so much, was gone, and in a way that felt like justice. But at the same time, it felt hollow. I thought about the students she'd taught, the trust she'd built with parents, the lives she had touched in ways that I never could. That career had been a part of her identity, and now it was gone. And it wasn't just her fault that it had been taken away. It was mine too for allowing this to go on for so long, for not seeing the cracks earlier, for not realizing the kind of person she had become. Parents who had come to her defense now openly criticized her and posted their disappointment on social media. I couldn't change the decision she made. All I could do was move forward, because that's all I had left. I didn't feel like a winner. I felt tired and angry. Angry at her for doing this to us, angry at myself for letting it happen, and angry at the world for making me question everything I thought I knew. But it was done. She was gone, and I was free. Now for the second story, I wasn't even thinking about it. That's the worst part. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't looking for anything. But when my phone buzzed that night, I glanced at the screen and there it was, a Snapchat notification, not from Chloe, but from her best friend, Nora. My stomach dropped. I opened the notification without even thinking, just a quick peek. It was a video of Chloe sitting on some stranger's lap, giggling like she was in high school again. She was leaning into his chest, his hands all over her waist like I didn't exist. Chloe had told me she was going out with Nora, a casual girls' night, nothing to worry about. She had said it so confidently, so casually. I didn't even question it because why would I? We'd been married for 4 years. For years, I never thought she'd be dumb enough to do something like this. But there it was, a Snapchat story for everyone to see. My wife laughing with another man. I could have called her. I could have exploded in anger, demanded an explanation, but honestly, what was the point? Instead, I did something better. I typed 3 words into the message box. Nice girls' night. I hit send, and then I locked my phone, leaned back in my chair, and waited. I knew exactly what would happen next. The post was deleted within minutes. My phone blew up almost immediately after. Chloe calling over and over again. I let it ring. Let her sweat. She called 4 times before I picked up. The instant I answered, I could hear it, the panic in her voice. "Calvin, please just let me explain." She cried. I couldn't even be bothered to respond right away. Instead, I let out a dry laugh, cold and bitter. I could feel my heart hardening as I spoke in the calloused, coldest voice I've ever used in my life. "And here's my dare," I said, letting the words hang heavy in the air. "Find a new place to live." Then I hung up. I didn't need to hear her excuses. Didn't need to hear her begging. And just like that, she was done. Chloe had always been good at talking her way out of things. She had this knack for twisting situations, making herself the victim, turning every mistake into something that somehow became my fault. I'd seen her do it with other people, but I never thought she'd try it on me. As I stared at my phone, watching her name flash over and over again, I knew exactly what was happening. She wasn't calling to apologize. She was calling to control the narrative, to make me believe it wasn't as bad as it looked. I let her call 6 times before I answered. By then, I knew she was spiraling. The second I picked up, I could hear it in her voice, her breath shaky, like she was already on the verge of panic. "Calvin, please, you have to listen," she said, her voice breaking. I didn't say a word, just let the silence hang there between us. I wasn't giving her an opening to twist this. It wasn't what it looked like. She stumbled over her words. I almost laughed. "Really?" "Because it looked exactly like you sitting on another guy's lap." I let the silence stretch out a little longer before speaking, letting her stew in it. "What? You thought I was stupid?" I finally asked, my voice colder than I'd ever heard it before. There was a long pause. She didn't respond, but I could hear her breathing faster, probably trying to figure out how to save herself. Then she tried a different angle. "Calvin, you're blowing this out of proportion. I didn't even kiss him." I leaned back in my chair, my gaze fixed on the wall. "Oh, so you admit it happened?" I asked. She froze. The air was thick with the weight of it, like she realized she couldn't take it back. "Wait," I continued a second. "Ego, you said it wasn't what it looked like. Now you're saying it did happen, but it didn't mean anything." I could hear her breath hitch. She knew she messed up. "Calvin, come on," she said, her voice pleading. "I love you. I would never cheat on you." I couldn't keep the dry laugh from escaping. "Chloe, I don't think you understand. I'm not mad." "You're not?" she asked, her voice a little too hopeful. "No," I said, the words rolling off my tongue with a coldness that made even me pause because I don't care anymore. There was silence on the other end. I could almost hear her trying to piece things together, the reality settling in. "Calvin, please. You don't mean that?" she begged, desperate. "I really do. I meant it. Every word." She tried one last move. The guilt trip. "You're seriously going to throw away 4 years over a stupid dare?" I shook my head even though she couldn't see me. "No, Chloe, you threw away 4 years over a stupid dare." She started crying harder, her sobs cutting through the line, but I wasn't moved. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said between sobs. "No, you didn't mean to get caught," I replied flatly. She cried harder, but I was done. Completely done. "Your stuff will be outside in an hour. Don't call me again." I hung up before she could say another word. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a strange sense of peace wash over me. I was done. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely at peace. Chloe thought she could talk her way out of this. She thought she could cry, manipulate, and make me feel bad for her. But the thing is, I wasn't angry anymore. And that's what scared her the most. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't begging for an explanation. I wasn't even arguing. I was just done. And now, I was going to make sure she felt exactly what I felt. Helpless, trapped, powerless. Chloe still thought of our apartment as her home. So I made sure that by the time she walked through the door, it didn't feel like hers at all. The front door still worked, but the rest of the apartment had been transformed. The bedroom was locked, the Wi-Fi password had been changed, her clothes packed neatly into trash bags sitting by the door. The fridge was completely cleaned out, nothing but an empty shell, and there was a note taped inside the front door. It read, "You're not welcome here." I didn't stick around to see her initial reaction. I knew she'd come home expecting a fight, a scene. She'd storm in, hoping to scream and cry her way back into my good graces. But instead, she'd walk into silence. No yelling, no confrontation, just emptiness, because there was nothing left to fight for. An hour later, I got my first text. "Calvin, what the hell?" I didn't respond. A few minutes later, another text. "Where's all my stuff? Why is the bedroom locked?" Still no response from me. The silence was deafening for her. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. Another call. I ignored it. Then another text. "Please talk to me." I don't know what to do. That's when I knew she finally understood. She wasn't in control anymore. She didn't have any power here. The texts kept coming, each, one more desperate than the last. "I know I messed up, but this is too much. I have nowhere to go." "You can't just do this to me, Calvin, please!" Now she was begging. The same woman who had laughed it off, saying it was just a dare, was now on her knees, asking for a second chance. And that's when I finally responded. Hope that dare was worth it. I didn't need to say anything more. The message was clear. Just like that, Chloe was officially out of my life. Chloe had always been the type of person who landed on her feet. She had this way of charming her way out of trouble, getting people to feel bad for her just enough to give her another chance. But this time, nobody was coming to save her, and I made sure of it. I imagined what was happening on her side. She probably tried calling her friends first, expecting someone to say, "Of course, you can stay with me." She probably thought she'd have a backup plan, but then reality slapped her in the face. People don't like housing cheaters. Nora, the one who posted the Snapchat video, was the first to turn on her. Chloe showed up at her place crying, asking for help, and all she got was the door slammed in her face. "I'm not getting dragged into this." Ouch! Her other friends, the ones who hyped her up for girls' night, nowhere to be found. None of them wanted to be associated with the drama. Chloe was officially on her own. No friends left. Chloe had one last option, her parents. She had to crawl back home, telling them she'd had a fight with me, leaving out the cheating part. But guess what? They already knew because I made sure of it. I never said anything directly. Just a simple message to her. "Mom, hey, just letting you know Chloe might be coming to you for help." I'd ask her why she lost her apartment before taking her in. That was all it took. By the time Chloe showed up at their doorstep, her parents were waiting, and they were pissed. I couldn't help but imagine the scene. Her standing there apologizing, trying to explain herself, but they weren't buying it. They'd already heard it all from me. A few days later, I got one last text from Chloe. She'd probably been sitting with it, stewing in her own guilt. "I deserve this. I get that now, but I really did love you." I stared at the message for a long time. I thought about it for a second, maybe even felt a tiny flicker of something, but then I deleted it. I was done. Chloe had always been the kind of person who could bounce back. She thought she'd have options. She thought she'd figure something out. But this time, everything she tried failed. Her first plan was to get her own place. Simple, right? But there was just one problem. She was still working part-time. Back when we were together, I had been the one covering most of the bills, and without me footing the majority of the expenses, getting her own place was a lot harder than she anticipated. The reality of it hit her. She always told me she'd go full-time eventually. Guess she ran out of time because suddenly renting her own place wasn't an option. Her job barely covered gas and groceries, so now she was stuck living on her friend's couch, trying not to be a burden. A week passed before she tried reaching out again, not to apologize, not to take responsibility, but to see if there was any way back in. She sent me a short, cautious message. "Hey, I was wondering if we could Meet up and talk. I didn't respond. So she sent another one, not about getting back together, just to clear the air. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it because there was nothing left to say. Chloe wanted closure. I wanted her to sit in the mess she created. She wasn't going to get any easy out from me. Chloe's biggest fear wasn't being alone. It was seeing me move on without her. And unfortunately for her, that's exactly what happened. I wasn't trying to be petty. I wasn't going out of my way to rub it in. But one day, while I was out with friends, I spotted her. Or rather, Chloe spotted me. I didn't even have to look hard. The second our eyes met, I saw it. The way she froze like a deer in headlights, I knew she had been dreading this moment. Chloe looked rough, like she hadn't been sleeping, maybe hadn't been eating well, definitely hadn't been taking care of herself. I felt a tiny twinge of something, but it wasn't pity. It was just indifference. And then there was me. I had been working out, eating better, taking care of myself. I'd been glowing in a way that had nothing to do with stress or anxiety. It was a healthy glow, a peaceful kind of energy. I had a new haircut, a new gym routine. I felt good. I felt better than fine. She saw me. I saw her see me. And in that moment, I knew she regretted everything. I could see it in the way her eyes darted away, the way her body stiffened. She wanted to reach out to say something, but all I did was walk past her without a single word. There was no need to say anything. After sitting with it for a few days, I called my lawyer. I'd never been one for drama or public scenes, but the moment I filed, it felt like a strange kind of weightlifting. I didn't feel vindictive or cruel, but I knew this was the only way to move forward. I wasn't going to let her control the narrative or manipulate me into staying in a situation where I wasn't respected. I was done being her second choice. I sat in my lawyer's office and signed the papers. Each stroke of the pen, a quiet confirmation that I was reclaiming control of my life. The lawyer explained everything, the process, the paperwork, the timelines. We talked about the division of property, the lack of shared assets, and how there would be no major complications given we didn't have kids or a house to fight over. It was a clean break, but it didn't feel clean. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't just ending a marriage. I was finally admitting to myself that I'd been living in a relationship that never really existed. 6 months passed before the divorce was finalized. It wasn't a long time, but it felt like an eternity. I filed, then waited. I watched her try to get back in touch. I ignored her messages and calls, knowing there was no need for closure, no need to rehash things. I had seen enough of her to know exactly who she was. At one point, she sent a text asking if we could meet to talk. She even suggested we do it for the sake of the memories. I didn't respond. The only thing I wanted to say to her was what I had said before. I'm done. She had made her choices and now she had to deal with the consequences. It was almost a relief when the paperwork came through. The finalization felt like a breath of fresh air, like I could finally start living my life again without wondering if she was still lurking in the background, waiting to drag me back into her chaos. I took my time, making sure everything was settled before I let her have the last word. She didn't get that chance. The divorce was final, the chapter closed, and she was officially out of my life. It was over, and that felt better than anything else I could have imagined. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.